report that the Red Cross is helping them out. A car explodes in a fatal wreck Sunday morning. That wreck was about 6:30 in Atala County on Atala Road 3122. A man was trapped inside the burning truck, begging for help from dispatchers, with people at the scene helpless to do anything about it. And then the truck exploded. The man died at the scene from his injuries, says Atala County Coroner Sam Bell, who ID'd the man as 38-year-old Brandon Sheedy of Atala County. A 5-year-old had to be taken by helicopter to the hospital for treatment for injuries also from the crash. It is not clear yet how it happened. Mississippi's average price for gas is at $3.54, reports Gas Buddy. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis.
The views and opinions
Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome into the Lindsey Beckham Show. Of course, Lindsey Beckham. We are live here in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios in the heart of Flora, the Cotton Exchange Plaza. I hope everybody had a great weekend. It was definitely beautiful weather outside, so I hope that you got to enjoy that and spend time with those that you love. There was no tragedy at the St. Patrick's Day Parade this year, so definitely thankful for that after seeing tragedy play out and murders take place right there in our capital city 2 out of the last 3 years. So definitely grateful that everyone was on their best behavior for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Of course, Capitol Police over there patrolling and took over the security for the St. Patrick's Day Parade this year. They did an incredible job. Shaun and I were out for a little bit, and we ran into Chief Bo Lucky, who has really just been phenomenal in his role in working with Capitol Police and making sure to keep our capital city as safe as possible so that people can get out and enjoy things like the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We enjoyed it, and it was definitely the most perfect day for it. Tomorrow is Pour It Out Tuesday. We will have Miss Morgan Charleigh back with us tomorrow, sitting across from me as our Tuesday co-host. So excited to hear about her trip to Boston, all the things that she learned that she is going to be able to come and bring back and implement into women's wellness and her job with Men's Health and Women's Wellness, who, of course, are proud sponsors of the Lindsey Beckham Show. If you are looking to grow your business, want to get the name of your business out there, want to drum up some activity, I'm telling you, WIB has the most loyal listeners. I'm sure that Morgan can tell you that just from women's wellness, that the people that have come into the clinic that have heard about it on the show, on the station. Clay obviously talks a good bit about Men's Health and New Care MD. They do such an incredible, phenomenal job over there. And you can also take advantage of that. We are always looking for new sponsors here at WIB and on the Lindsey Beckham Show. You can email me. It's very simple. It's just Lindsey@WIAB.com. Of course, as our friend Jameson Haygood would say, you got to get the name right so that I get the email. Of course, that's Lindsey with an E. LINDSEY@WIAB.com. I'd love to talk about advertising with you and share what we can do to help grow your business. I do not think you will be disappointed at all. Of course, Women's Wellness, Morgan is now offering their telehealth, so you don't even need to be right here in Mississippi to take advantage of that. She has a plan now that will allow you to see her through telehealth visits, and she can take care of all your medical needs there. We do have a guest joining us today. I think she just hopped on. Let's see here. Hey, Raven.
Hey, Lindsey.
How are you?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm good. So glad that you could join us. I've told the listeners, I've kind of teased your story a little bit here and there, and I said, y'all are just not gonna believe this. what is happening in some of our schools across the country. But,
Oh my goodness,
even
yes.
my favorite line is, "That could never happen here." Well,
Oh, famous last words, right?
right? Well, you are from the free state of Florida, who we love, Governor DeSantis over there. He's done an incredible job as governor, but you have
Yes.
a story that people probably find very hard to believe, and I want you to share that with the listeners today because these things do happen, and it is happening in schools across the country. So I just think everybody's going to be floored by what you have to say.
Yes, I don't know if you watched the trailer too. It's impactful. But hey, everyone, thank you for having me, Lindsay.
Absolutely.
My name is Raven Harrison, and the story that we're going to talk about is what happened to my daughter. Actually, both of my kids have had incidents with the school, but we're going to focus right, I guess, right now on what happened to my daughter, Patience, who is now 16. But it is every parent's nightmare that
Yeah.
happened to us. Three-quarters of the way through the year, I believe it was March of 2017 or 18. It was after President Trump had gotten elected the first time. And we weren't very political. We voted. Both my parents are retired Air Force lieutenant colonels, so we're patriots to the core. And my husband's a retired C-17 pilot, and we were really just looking for whatever normal is, what
Mhm.
parents want normal. And I was really excited to give my kids what I didn't have, which is a mom to walk them to school, do their homework, and be there when they got home. I was running a business, but we had time, and we got a call. It was March, toward the end of March. We got a call 10 minutes before the end of the school day from the administrator telling us there had been an incident and our daughter was about to be expelled from elementary school. And I said, not my daughter. What could she have possibly done? And in my mind, as a parent, I was thinking, it's 10 minutes before school is out. What could she have possibly done that
Right.
was so egregious that you
You
would
need to
need
be
to
there right
call
now.
me?
Yeah.
I was going to be there in 5 minutes anyway. But my mindset at that time was whatever the problem is, we're going to fix it. I'll get on top of it. We'll correct it. That was my mindset. And we got to the school. Surprise number one was not seeing my daughter when all the kids, by that time, the bell had gone off. We didn't see our kid. And I looked around. I spotted the teacher. She's 5'10", impossible to miss. I said, excuse me, where's Patience? And she goes, she's in the detention. And she turned away from me and started having another conversation again. And I went, whoa. I said, excuse me. I said, what does she do? What's wrong? And she said, she needs to think about her choices. And I went, okay, what is this, 20 questions? I said, okay, you know what? I'll just find out from her. And as I started walking to the door, my husband and I, she goes, you can't go back there. And I said, why not? We dropped her off here this morning. But that's when all the red flags, Lindsay, started going up. It was
Yeah.
really bizarre. So she started running across the courtyard to like she was trying to head us off or something. And we got to the door and we got surprise number two, which was her best friend standing outside, nervously looking everywhere. And I said, hey, Sophie. She goes, Miss Raven, they grabbed her by the neck and then blah, 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 blah. And then she started going 100 miles an hour. And I went, whoa, slow down, Sophie. What are you talking about? Who grabbed who by the neck? What's going on? And she was so incoherent, Lindsay, after that point. I just couldn't make heads or tails of what she had just said. She dropped a
Mhm.
nuke, but there was no context. So I said, "Hey, Sophie, go ahead and go home, baby. I'm here now. We'll
Mhm.
fix it." She goes, "But Patience," I said, "I got her. I got it." And my husband and I looked at each other and I said, "Oh my goodness." And we walked into the classroom and got final surprise, which is our daughter alone in the classroom, clutching her chair, hyperventilating, broken out in hives. And I mean, my mind couldn't process it. I said, Patience, "Ah, ah, ah, ah," and she just was completely, I didn't know she was going to pass out. I didn't know she was going to throw up. I didn't know she was
Yeah.
going to have a heart attack. It was crazy. I've never seen her like that before. And
Right.
she came over and grabbed onto us. And
And I'm
I
sure
noticed
your mama heart is just pounding
oh,
at
my
this point.
mama heart was broken. As an adult, you're trying to wait for the logical explanation. As a mom, I'm ready to rip somebody's head from the
Yeah.
shoulders clean.
Yeah.
And I said, and that's probably a little bit of the Native American too. We always have tomahawks at the ready, don't we? But I noticed the real big flag after all of those came in is when we were trying to calm her down. She was buried in my chest and just screaming. And I noticed that the teacher, the principal, and the administrator had obviously come in through a side door, and they didn't try to offer any explanation, not hey, she fell off the jungle gym, or sorry. And that's where all of a sudden I was like, something is way out of sorts. And so I gave her to her dad. I said, Paul, take her. And I said, you have 15 seconds to tell me why she
Yeah.
looks like this before I level this place.
Yeah.
And the teacher said, well, I'm sorry she's so upset. I said, you have 10 seconds. You better get there fast.
Yeah.
And she
Exactly.
said, well, we had an election in school today. And I said, you're studying civics? And she said, no. She goes, your daughter voted for Trump. And my husband and I were like, what? What did you just say? She goes, you don't
And she was
understand.
11, right?
She was 8.
She was 8. I'm sorry. She's
She
8
was
when this happened.
8 at the time. She is 16 now. She was 8 at the time. And we almost fainted. I said, so what? And she says, no, you don't understand. Like, she needed me to understand. She goes, you don't understand. She's the only one in the school who voted for Trump. And if we can't correct this, she is expelled. And that is when the best I could describe it to the audience, guys, that is fuse, meat, dynamite all day and twice on Sunday. That
Mhm.
is nothing that I was, because I guess that was the moment when I realized, Lindsay, that whatever rational, logical explanation was not there. It was just
Right.
literally as bad as it sounds. It was a bad episode of Family Guy or something, where he's like, it's exactly what it looks like. It was exactly what it looked like. The teachers got caught, and I didn't find out because remember, I just went into tear mode. I just went
Mhm.
into tear it off. I said, my last little bastion of sanity was when I looked at the principal. I said, what do you have to say about this? And he said, well, some of our teachers are more intense and some are more warm and fuzzy. And I said, you're a freaking idiot. Okay.
Wait,
None
did
of you
you
guys
have
should
any
be,
idea that any sort of election like this was even going to take place in her?
no idea. And that's why when I asked her, are you studying civics? Because I do her homework with her every night. And they were supposed to be studying geometry. I was paying attention. And so I literally just, I completely, and he said, Mrs. Harrison, I said, stop talking.
Yeah.
Okay. I need you to stop talking. I said, what I want you to do is you guys need to understand. And I just really felt like I needed to give them everything that was on my mind in that nuclear moment. I let them have it. And somewhere in all of that, the teachers who were around started collecting and whispering, and somebody called the media, and not the police, but called the
Right.
media, which I don't even recall seeing at the time. But I just said, here's how it's going to go down. He goes, what we'll do, I said, again, you're still talking. I said, be quiet. I said,
Mhm.
go and collect everything that either one of my kids was even in this school. I said, I want all their files, all their records. I want it in my hand in 10 minutes. I said, and you better hurry because I'm about to call the police.
Yeah.
Why would you call the police? That's what you do when you abuse children.
Mhm.
And we
At
grabbed
this
all of,
point, you had not even
no,
you not even put together what Sophie had said
no.
at the
I
front door.
kind of dismissed what Sophie had said just because in that moment I was dealing with putting out the hottest fire.
Right.
And through all of that, and the hottest fire was after I did this and they went to go get her records. It
Mhm.
was a Friday, and he's like, I'll have them for you Monday. I said, you'll have them for me now.
Yeah.
And because we just didn't know what we were doing. And while that was happening, Patience caught her breath, and her dad's holding her, and she goes, Mommy, here. And I said, what is this? And the teacher said, I'll take that. I said, you put that hand on me, you're going to lose it. Get away from me.
Mhm.
And it was, she had balled up in her hand a little piece of paper, and it was her detention assignment. She had been crying, so I had to peel apart the origami, and I couldn't even, I read it, and Paul has got Patience choking him, and he goes, what does it say? I could not believe it. Lindsay, I would have promised you, I would have given Vegas money that I was
Mhm.
being punked when I
Mhm.
read the paper. I gave it to Paul, and he read it out loud, and it said, write neatly 100 times in cursive. Hillary Clinton is the true president, and Donald Trump is an asshole. And I just said, this doesn't happen to people. What is this? I said, what have you done? I said, you
8 years
destroyed
old.
my daughter's faith in everything. I said, she'll never set foot in a school again. I mean, I was just, I could not believe it. But I wasn't until we got home when patients
Hold that
she
thought, patience. Hold that thought. We got to take a commercial break, but I know what's coming next, and
oh yes
y'all,
you
I'm
do.
telling you, y'all know me. If you listen to the show, you know me pretty well, and you know that I'm hats off to you that you're not in jail today, because I would have murdered someone. So y'all don't want to miss.
Amen.
You do not want to miss what happens next, because it's gonna floor you. Y'all stay with us. We will be right back here. WIAB 1039, The Lindsey Beckham Show. Yes, we will be right back here. WIAB 1039, The Lindsey Beckham Show.
Keep it tuned here to 1039 WYAB.
Get ready, Louisiana! Johnny's Pizza House is turning up the heat with our Sweet the Swamp Pizza. Packed with crawfish, shrimp, a taste of crab, andouille sausage, bell peppers, onions, jalapenos, and a blend of Cajun spices, all smothered in delicious mozzarella cheese. It's the perfect bite of the bayou and the perfect meal for any Cajun crave. Try our Cajun Flint or dive into a Sweet the Swamp Pizza bowl. A taste of Louisiana flavor is waiting on you. Let's share a slice today at Johnny's Pizza House.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Hot weather requires us to run the AC nonstop. Pure Air Consultants can inspect your unit today to ensure your AC is operating at peak performance. Pure Air Consultants is your go-to Rheem partner that can get the job done and have you resting in comfort in no time. Locally owned and operated, they have proudly served our community for over 22 years. Contact Pure Air Consultants today at mypureairconsultants.com. Rheem and Pure Air Consultants to the rescue.
Americans for Prosperity is Mississippi's and the country's leading grassroots organization dedicated to promoting economic freedom and personal liberty. Americans for Prosperity advocates for limited government, free market policies, and empowering individuals. When given freedom and opportunity, Americans are capable of extraordinary things. If you are ready to make a difference in our community and want to get involved, then visit americansforprosperity.org. Be a part of positive change at americansforprosperity.org. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
Doctor, the AC doctor, what's your diagnosis? My whole house was hot as a fever. Now my house is frozen, cause my air conditioning's old. Doctor, my AC's broken. Doctor, the AC doctor, heal my house, bless my soul.
The AC Doctors is your one-stop provider for air conditioning and heating installation, service, and repair. Contact us for money-saving repairs and lower energy bills.
Doctor, the AC doctor, heal my house, bless my soul.
Google the AC Doctors and get some relief today. TheACDR.com.
The 19th Annual Township Jazz Festival is Saturday, April 11th in Ridgeland. 8 hours of live jazz, headlined by Grammy winner Nestor Torres. Also featuring the Tropic Owls from New Orleans, along with local favorites like the Vamps, Southern Comfort, the JSU Jazz Band, and much more. And admission still free. That's the Township Jazz Festival on Highland Colony Parkway in Ridgeland. Visit townshipjazzfestival.com.
Have you been injured through no fault of your own? Do you know your rights? Don Evans does. Do you really believe that the insurance company would disclose all information to you? Don Evans will make sure that you are fully informed. It costs nothing to discuss your case. From car wrecks to malpractice, Don Evans will make you and your family whole again. Don Evans won't ever charge unless he collects for you. Call Don for a free, no-obligation consultation at 601-969-2006.
Got electrical problems? Marty Cowden and Cowden Electric are here for you. Cowden Electric is your trusted electrician, serving the Jackson area for 3 decades. Electrical repair, service, and home rewiring are just the start of what Cowden Electric can do. Cowden Electric also installs generators to keep your power going when everyone else's lights are out. Plus, LED lighting, remodels, new construction, no job is too small. Visit CowdenElectric.com today to see all that they do. Cowden Electric, powering your home and business.
Come together.
Welcome back into the Lindsey Beckham Show. We are live here in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios, joined by the lovely Miss Raven Harrison. And to recap, she's telling us about her daughter Patient's experience in one of the public schools that she attended when she was 8 years
Years old.
old. And y'all, I've talked with Patience. She is very well spoken, very mature, very eloquent, much like her mom. But her elementary class this afternoon decided they were going to hold an election and ask students who they would vote for. And when her daughter said Trump, she was told
Yes.
that she could be expelled. She needed to make better decisions. She was put in
Yes.
detention, had to write over and over that Hillary Clinton is the true president. Donald Trump is an asshole. She's hysterical. Her mom, Raven, gets there and is just floored by what has taken place. So pick up,
Yes.
Raven, where you left off.
So I just want, the parents who are out there, even the people who are not parents, that is the worst. I feel like our fundamental job as moms is to protect the most vulnerable. But I didn't even know there was danger. There's things you prepare for, but having my daughter assaulted in the school was not something I was prepared for. So we pulled her and her brother out. Her brother's major is 2 years younger than she is, and he's had incidents, but nowhere near to this gravity. And we got home that day. She had to kind of cry it out and then fell asleep. And Paul and I were trying to get a plan, but I don't do helpless very well, Lindsay. So I started
Right.
going through all the books we had pulled out of her desk, just trying to figure out where this happened. What did I miss? When did this take place? And I came across a couple of interesting books and realizing that we were the Titanic and we had just hit the iceberg and there was a lot going on below deck. But when Patience woke up, she came in and she saw me intensely going through her stuff and she goes, "Am I in trouble?" And I said, "No, honey, you're not in trouble. I just can't believe this happened to you." She goes, "Good, because I would vote for him again." And she tried to bounce out. I said, "Wait a minute, honey, come back in here for a second." Because we never talk to our kids about politics. They may have overheard some things that we had said, but I just feel like they have 18 years for unicorns and bunnies. They have 18 plus to be grumpy, politically charged adults. And so that's where we were. But she goes, and she came back in. And when she came back in, I said, "Patience, I picked out one of these books that I had found while she was asleep. And I said, 'What is this? I've never seen this book before.' And she said, 'Well, that's a stay at school book.'
Stay at school book.
And I said, 'What is a stay at school book?' And she said, 'We get detention if we bring these home.' So I said, 'Okay, drop it on the floor, see where it opens. And what passage do I read?' Native Americans were happy to be slaves because it taught them how to build missions and to renounce their pagan gods. And I about threw up in my mouth. I said, what being the fact that I am Native American, just a small coincidence, but it was a textbook. It wasn't a handout. It wasn't a flyer. It was a printed textbook. And I went, "Oh my goodness gracious, God, what is happening here?" And as she was walking out, she was scratching at her neck. And I said, "Patience, honey, what's wrong with your neck?" And she
Is
said,
that
"It's
when it
where she."
clicked what Sophie had said?
Oh my gosh, it click and my heart fell into my feet. And she said, "It's where she picked me up by the throat when she dragged me into detention." And I just went, "God, this isn't happening. Please wake me up. Now's a good time." And that dream where you're falling
Right.
and it was terrible. And I pulled her hair back. She has butt length hair. And I pulled her hair back and I saw the marks on her neck and it broke me.
Her teacher
Lindsay
literally picked her up
picked
by
her up.
the
Her
neck.
5'10" teacher picked her up by the throat and dragged her into detention and sat her there and slammed that detention assignment, which she didn't do. So for those who are out there wondering, she
Yeah.
didn't write one word. That's my girl. But because of how this unfolded, we turned the news on 2 days later, and in local news, crazy Native American woman goes on tirade at school. And I went, "Oh my gosh." And there's me and the back of my messy hair and all my glory because I ran out of the house, probably
Mhm.
didn't even close the door that day. But just all of a sudden, I was labeled a crazy person on
Right.
national television. I just went, this is not happening. But the one thing I know is that, God always has a plan. He didn't say all things were easy. He said all things were possible. And we prayed about it. And I said, "God, I don't know what's happening here, but you're going to have to give me something because I feel like I failed her as a mom."
And here's the
And
media spinning it. and
spinning it. I
completely
haven't had a
different
chance to say anything. I didn't say anything about my daughter being assaulted, the marks on our neck, which we did get documented at the hospital. We took her to the hospital. And then my husband, who was a pilot, insisted on staying home because he was afraid I would sneak out and
way. Go kill someone.
exactly. And I said, okay. So I said, you're going to have to go back to work eventually. You can't protect her. But he's right. He just said, this is not where this needs to end, because if I had known that, I would have been in jail. No two ways about it. But what we did is we prayed about it. And the more I started talking about it, the more people started telling me, are you sure? Are you sure? This seems really, and I went, are you kidding? Look at her neck. Is anybody? So we put her in homeschool, which was the best decision we ever made. And I wasn't ready to really move forward. I wasn't exactly sure outside of just telling people. The more people told me no, it didn't happen, the more I was determined, until we got a phone call that we didn't expect from President Trump. And he called and he said, is this Raven Harrison? Which I came something I dread now. Are you Raven Harrison? Oh, now what? What
What have
is
you
it?
heard about me?
And the liberals came after both of us really hard. Her friends, oh my, I heard your mom was crazy. I heard your mom's a psycho and that she did all of this. And the school had to try to spin it. It was terrible. But
Because they couldn't tell
again,
the truth. Obviously, they can't tell the truth about what happened because
yeah, all you have to do is pull back, and we had witnesses. We had lots of witnesses to that. And then when we went to the hospital that night and documented what happened, if I had known earlier, would have taken her earlier. It just didn't dawn on me. I missed it, guys. But the end story was when President Trump
did you like
called to check
freak
on her.
out when he says this is Donald Trump?
After everything we had been through, I voted for him, but I was not a very big television person. I've never watched a single episode of The Apprentice, so I didn't know much about him.
Mhm.
I had just always mentally said I think the country should be run more like a business instead of a pet project for tenured
Mhm.
politicians. I mean, Pelosi and these people have been there since before the internet. Let that
Mhm.
sink in. I mean, they're just if we nuked it, it'd be nothing but cockroaches and her. So I just said we that's what my mindset. So we both voted for him, but we didn't discuss that with our kids. So it was more surprise. And after hitting the floor, my dad says you can't fall off the floor. And I'm like, did I hit it yet? But that's where I kind of was. So I was not as enthusiastic as I could have been, just because my heart was so heavy with how are we going to move forward? How are we going to find
Mhm.
her smile again? How are we going to get her to trust? What happens to her education now? So
Mhm.
things that I just wasn't prepared to deal with on a Friday evening
Right.
became front and center. And this was next week. And what it tells me is a very testament to his character. A lot of people have stuff to say. Most of them don't even know him. I've had the occasion since then to meet him on several occasions, and I, he's amazing. But he called, and what I appreciate was it was not, there was no ego, there was no nothing. He said, how is she? Is she here? And I said, actually, rarely. We got her to go outside and play. Would you like? He said, no. He goes, these people are sick. And I said, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. But the fact that he cared, the
Mhm.
call was to check on patients.
Mhm.
And she was actually pretty disappointed she missed it.
I
But
bet.
I said, hopefully you're going to get an opportunity. She hasn't had a chance to meet him yet, and I have, and he's been delightful each time. But he just said, is there anything I can do? I said, not that I can think of. And I just said, but I remember when he first called, I said, is this really President Trump? And he said, how would you like me to prove that? And I said, well, what's the prologue of The Art of the Deal? Can you give me the first couple of lines? And he goes, and he gave them to me.
Gotta
And he
be
goes, I don't think anybody's ever asked me that before. And I said, I apologize. But it was just funny of going, okay, so this is really happening.
Raven, hold
And
on one second. We've got an emergency. So we're gonna go to break.
oh,
Since I don't want anybody to miss anything you've got to say. So y'all stay with us. We're gonna be right back here on the Lindsey Beckham Show.
oh.
Pizza House is turning up the heat with our sweet the swamp pizza. Packed with crawfish, shrimp, a taste of crab, and doing sausage, bell peppers, onions, jalapenos, and a blend of Cajun spices, all smothered in delicious mozzarella cheese. It's the perfect bite of the bayou and the perfect meal for any Cajun crave. Try our Cajun flip or dive into a sweet the swamp pizza bowl. A taste of Louisiana flavor is waiting on you. Let's share a slice today at Johnny's Pizza House.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Hot weather requires us to run the AC non-stop. Pure Air Consultants can inspect your unit today to ensure your AC is operating at peak performance. Pure Air Consultants is your go-to Rheem partner that can get the job done and have you resting in comfort in no time. Locally owned and operated, they have proudly served our community for over 22 years. Contact Pure Air Consultants today at mypureairconsultants.com. Rheem and Pure Air Consultants to the rescue.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
CBS News brief. Secretary of State Rubio on the state of things between the U.S. and Iran.
The first point the president makes is he prefers diplomacy. As I said, those efforts are nascent. There is messages being relayed back and forth, some conversations going on, including through intermediaries, and he always prefers that.
President Trump has threatened more attacks if there's no deal. Lawmakers appear no closer to settling the partial government shutdown. North Dakota Republican John Hoeven.
We're going to continue to work on this, and we are, as I've laid out, not only on the current legislation, but budget reconciliation. But I mean, I don't know how to answer that other than to say we're going to keep working until we get it done.
The Supreme Court expected this week to take up President Trump's push to end birthright citizenship. Norman Wong's grandfather led the argument for that back in 1898.
We need to get America on the right track where people care for each other. If we're going to live as a people, we're going to die as one people.
CBS News Brief, I'm Steve K.
This is Jack Hoffman. For nearly 31 years, Tico's Steakhouse has been a staple of fine dining in Jackson, Mississippi. Dad has long since desired for me to come work alongside him. And now that I'm here, I would like to invite you to come experience our family tradition of our hospitality, sizzling steaks, and healthy poured beverages. Our dining rooms are open and we are taking reservations. Our private rooms are also available along with takeout. Call today or stop in and experience Tico's in the second generation.
Tico's Steakhouse, East County Lime Road in Ridgeland, 601-956-1030.
I am Wayne Lloyd, Delta Farm Services, LLC. We do all types of dirt work, excavation, dozer work, land leveling. We do building pads, commercial ponds and lakes, residential ponds and lakes, anything with dirt work. Delta Farm Services, LLC.
Google Delta Farm Services, LLC, or find them on Facebook. Delta Farm Services, LLC.
Smart business owners will tell you the best time to start a new business is now. Whether you're thinking of starting a new business or expanding an existing one, the perfect location is the Cotton Exchange Plaza in Flora. Over 13,000 cars will pass by your business each and every day on Highway 49. Space is available now, so what are you waiting for? Call the Cotton Exchange Plaza at 601-879-3503 to find out how you can expand your business today. The Cotton Exchange Plaza in Flora, where we mean business.
Grizz Nation, your Memphis Grizzlies take on the New York Knicks at FedEx Forum on Wednesday, April 1st at 7 p.m. See all the action on Sustainability Night with the first 5,000 fans through the door receiving an Eco Grizz drawstring bag. Get your tickets today at grizzlies.com/tickets or at the FedEx Forum box office in Memphis.
Have you thought about the cost of long-term care? In Mississippi, a home health aide can cost over $57,000 a year, and a private nursing home room can exceed $109,000 annually. Hi, my name is Cressley Pierce at Pierce Professional Agency. Long-term care insurance may help protect your savings and give you more options and peace of mind as you age. Learn how planning ahead could save you money and stress. Find me, Cressley Pierce, online today at MadisonPlans.com. That's MadisonPlans.com.
Welcome back into the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios. This is the Lindsey Beckham Show. I'm, of course, Lindsey Beckham. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And as always, 1039 FM. You can get us on the radio or our website, WIB.com. We are joined today by Ms. Raven Harrison, and she has been telling us the story of her daughter Patience and their experience at a public school where she has now pulled her daughter and is homeschooling. Sorry, I had to cut you off. They always seem to throw
No, all good.
as emergency.
This is the South. I was born in the South. The South will
pivot.
always rise again.
Yeah, sometimes you got to pivot, and I didn't want anybody to miss what you had to say. And so you were telling us you got a phone call from President Trump, and he was asking how your daughter is and is truly concerned because he's heard about what took place, what happened to her at 8 years old. Again, there's not many times that things really floor me these days because I feel like I've heard it all. But this one was, I think I had to pick my jaw up off the floor.
Yes.
I just could not believe it. So tell
crazy.
us.
And what I want people to get from that is, first of all, like I said, it doesn't mean that we're best friends, but having at least met him on several occasions, he's a striking individual. I have more respect for him than I did when I voted for him, all three times. But again, I'm about the business of the country. This is, both my parents are retired colonels. Both my parents and my husband fought and gave their careers for this country. And I've lived in places you don't want to know about. Lindsay, there are things that I've seen I've lived under actual communism. I've lived where women aren't allowed to drive and things like that. With my mom fighting these kinds of things. My mom, Native American, she used to have to deal with the prejudice and the hate and all of that. And then being from Texas, being from the South, I was born in Texas, and all the, they just assume when you're born in the South that you're slow or uneducated or hillbillies. And I'm telling you right now, hillbillies, rednecks, those are my people, my gun toting. If you can pull the caps off with your teeth, get it. Because I am one of, but we used to be better when we respected people, we respected the hardworking people who put it together. And this felt like more of a betrayal for me. So President Trump calling out of his busy schedule to check on Patience, my daughter, and what this did to her. I guess his kids understand better than most what it's like to be in this light, but I was a nobody, and I felt like, how could this happen to me? But God has a good way of getting your attention. And he got me exactly where he needed to be, because one of the next calls I got was Charlie Kirk, a then unknown who was running Turning Point, the new Turning Point, out of his parents' garage. And he said, "We need you in the movement." And I said, "Movement? What movement are we?" Because again, I went from zero, it was a normal day, to all of a sudden my kid is homeschooled, and and she took it really hard. But she has bounced back. It was actually Charlie Kirk's death brought her into, "Mom, I'm ready to claim my own voice." And I went, oh my gosh, she's 16 now. But what that told me, it was President Trump that said, "Have you ever thought about running for office?" And I said, "Well, how can anybody in their right mind want to run for office?" And he goes, "I'm going to pretend you didn't say that." And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. But I didn't actually give it much thought until he was shot. And when he was shot, I said, look at what he's doing. He stepped out of his billionaire life, to be hated, spit on, reviled. And like I said, I'm not saying he's a perfect person. I just think he's the perfect person for the job. But where people have now crossed that line where they feel like their hate entitles them to hurt people and to do that. And they came after my daughter, but she was on the War Room, and, oh, it didn't really happen. And I saw she was an actress in a bad one. People just tried to, but she is strong. And the best thing is what the host asked her at that time. He said, "Why didn't you change your vote?" She said, "Because I shouldn't have to."
Amen. At 8 years old,
Yes.
that's how I've been being raised right.
Yeah, it was like, and the choir says amen.
Yes,
because that's what I wanted her to hear. And after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I didn't want her to be afraid, because God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. That's what they want.
Right.
They want us to be terrified. And this country is worth fighting for. I've lived in some places you don't even want to know about. And America is the best country in the world. I am a patriot to the core. I am a Christian to the core. And there is nothing they're going to do that's going to change that. So either I believe God is faithful or I don't. And I do. So we are forward. And then I have now jumped in. I am now a jack of all trades. But if anybody's going with that, you don't have to be alone. Moms for Liberty reached out to me. I am proud to be a chapter chair now here in Broward County, where I'm also running for Congress. And my daughter is 16. She actually, it's hard to pin down a 16-year-old actually, but I found her for a second just to say hi. And I
Oh,
just want everybody to know she's okay. She's here, sit on my lap for a second so we can get in. Everybody
Hey,
can.
Patience,
It's
how are
been a
you?
while for this. But you want to say hi to Lindsay and
Hi, Miss Lindsay.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Yes, I told your mom I was just so inspired by you guys and your story, and I definitely wanted to get her on to share that. And I'm so glad that you were available to hop on too. I know you're. Are you still homeschooling?
Yes.
just finished school for today?
Yes, I did.
What are we learning today?
I just took a spelling test. That's what I just finished.
Okay.
They don't do those anymore in the public school around here, which is strange. At least some of them, I think they have the option too. So I'm surprised that your school even taught cursive. They were wanting you writing cursive.
Yeah.
At least that's the I guess the
And
positive.
they
positive thing to
stopped
hear.
after 3rd grade. We never learned cursive again. I just barely know it from what I picked up in 2nd grade, but that's when they stopped doing it.
Yeah.
And just people are probably wondering how you are, Patience. I mean, how are you? Were you were scared? How did you feel and how are you now?
I'm doing a lot better, and that's a lot easier to say now, but it was really hard at first, especially after this happened. It was kind of crazy. You kind of expect for your friends to kind of take your side and people to kind of take your side and go, wow, that's crazy. But the way so many people kind of turned on me after that happened, a lot of people said I was making it up. A lot of people said they don't believe me. A lot of people said they couldn't be friends with me anymore because, oh, we didn't know your parents were
Your mom's
Trump
crazy.
voters. Yeah,
And
so
Trump supporters, they didn't want to be
especially,
friends with her because we supported President
losing
Trump.
the friends I had in person and then going into homeschool, I felt really,
Isolated.
really alone. And everybody was saying, like, you're so strong, you got this. And I'm like, I don't feel like that. But especially after, because, Charlie Kirk was one of the first or second people who called, and he's actually the man who got me into politics. I came across his videos, I think a year or two ago, and I was like, that's the man who called to check to see if I was okay. And seeing how he goes in front of crowds of thousands of people who disagree with him, people tell him the same things they told me, that was really encouraging. And after that, I started, to realize that, not only am I not alone in this, but there's nothing to be ashamed of.
That's right.
Right. Your voice matters too.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And she's going to use it now. And I'm glad because, we miss Charlie, don't we?
Yeah.
I miss him. He was not, I don't feel like I'm old enough. I am, but I don't feel like I'm old enough to be his mom. I feel like I lost a little brother. And what I respected is Charlie truly cared. He really thought that people who were suffering, angry, hostile, that maybe he could help them find peace by sharing his, and they tried to take it, but they didn't silence. Now they got me. Now it's worse. now you got me. But is there anything you wanted to say? Everybody coming out, I think everybody's wishing you well, but
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know I don't know you well, Patience. We've talked a few times, but I want you to know that I'm proud of you for you're not backing down and using your voice and knowing that you did nothing wrong. And there should be no reason that the adults in the room should act that way or ever put their hands on you like that. That speaks more about their character than it does yours. And you did the right thing. And I'm just very proud of you and impressed
did
by
your
you.
mom give an acceptable response? Did I nuke it?
Yes.
So for those who that was probably the angriest she's ever seen me.
That's also what made me realize that you actually took my side and that there was actually nothing to be afraid, because before that I had never been in trouble. When she said, I'm going to call your parents, I was like, are my parents going to take her side? Is everybody like really going to turn on me for this? But the way that she stood up for me, realized that I'm not alone in this. And that was probably the most encouraging part of it all, is realizing I don't have to be afraid
No, now she can have you on speed dial. Now you're a caller.
Yeah.
I'm
But
sure
no,
that
just
it
because it
definitely
didn't
made
make
your bond.
sense.
Yeah, I'm sure it made your bond stronger as mother and daughter, and not being from a family that wasn't very involved in politics, and then a lot of times I say I think that God allows things to happen to
Yes.
our children, those moms that are like us that are going to say we're not going to just back down from this. This was wrong, and we're going to speak out about it, and we're going to do things to change this situation from ever happening again.
Well, I'm strong and I feel like that's a gift from God, but every gift God gives you is for society, for people. So now just instead of fighting for her, I'm fighting for everybody's children, even the ones who don't agree with me. But that's such a precious and pivotal time when they're children. And again, she now is great and well adjusted. We talked about going back into school. She's happier in homeschool, and we had a lot of people reach out to us and teach us how to do it, but she's doing great. I'm so proud of her. I'm proud. And now instead of just going, wow, I wish the school had taught her this. And,
Mhm.
because we found a lot of things when it came out. I was taking
Right.
a phone call once and I was like, help your brother with long division. And he's struggling with a remainder or something. And I went and took the phone call and came back. She goes, what's a remainder? I'm like, oh my goodness gracious.
They do
Okay.
have completely different these days.
So we had to go back but she's been great and she's done double time and she loves animals and people and she's been loyal to President Trump and she understands now the hate that's coming as mom gets a lot of it. We get death threats all the time, don't
Mhm.
we? Well, I do. And so we do it. But thank you for popping in, honey. Thank you
Yes,
for
thank
letting
you.
everybody know, let everybody out there know
Absolutely.
you're okay.
Thank
You
you.
keep that voice strong. You keep God's
Thank
gonna
you.
God's gonna bless you for it. He will.
Well, I
Thank
love
you.
you, honey. I'll see you in just a
Thank you.
few.
Love you. Thank you so much.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Thank you, Patience. Raven, tell us what
Thank you.
happened at this school? What came of this?
So the short-term effect, which I was not really happy with, is I took about a third off of that school in terms of people being fired, but it didn't feel like enough, Lindsay, being fired for assaulting a child. But what people ask me a lot, why didn't you sue? And the main reason I didn't sue is because, first of all, like I said, we only hit the tip of the iceberg. We didn't have all the layers beneath it. We didn't know how big this rabbit hole was.
Mhm.
So we had to, and I was not going to drain $50,000 paying a lawyer when the school was circling the wagons around. We were getting no help. And
Or make your daughter
again,
get up there on a stand and relive this over and over.
yeah, well, what I felt like is, who does that benefit if I sue? So is $50,000, and I mean, again, I'm not saying they quoted that, but I just didn't feel like giving a lawyer a lot of money, for the school. What was the school going to do? Apologize? Was anything they were going to say or do make this
Right.
right? I felt like the best way to make this right was to do what apparently God was calling me to do, which is to step into a capacity and use the gifts He gave me of being able to speak and communicate and being strong and fiery. And I'm Native American. My ancestors were stewards of
Mhm.
this land, and I feel like it's very profound. But now I'm fighting for everybody's kids. I'm fighting for the South. I'm fighting for everyone, because you should have to decide. Even if you disagree with me, you should have the right to decide how to raise your kids. And this is a very communistic, from being two parents in the military. And I'm telling you, not just military. My mom worked on satellite defense systems. My dad was a pilot in Nam and then a lawyer. So I'm very versed on what's happening. And this is a very, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it, but those who alter history are intending to repeat it. And if
Mhm.
we don't step up, our founding fathers expected us, we the people, to get to
Mhm.
this line and fix it. So
Mhm.
if we're going to keep looking at the TV going, oh, they did this, well, what's going to be different? That's the definition of insanity. So we have to do it. Will I win? Will I lose? Doesn't matter.
So
God
where's
asked me to
your
be obedient.
yeah, what race what's your Congress race? What's your
So
district?
I am running for Congress in a very pivotal, but able to be flipped District 23 here in South Florida, which is the Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale area. And what I want to tell people is, God is good all the time.
That's right.
And people dismissed it, and where is she's a carpetbagger? Why is she's not even from Florida? I'm like, most people from Florida aren't from Florida. I've
That's true.
lived
That's
here
so
for
true.
years. I just wasn't in that fight. And I started fighting for election integrity. I started doing these things and meeting Charlie Kirk at certain events. And I started doing these things, but when the time was right. But I've been a dual resident for a long time. So I just let people talk. They're ignorant. They don't know. But This is a must
President Trump
win.
encouraged you. President Trump encouraged you and said, well, what are you going to do about it?
Exactly. Are you going to shake your fist and complain? Or are you going to be part of the change you would like to see? He can't do it alone. And that's what it looks like right now. He is surrounded by the swamp, these career politicians who've done nothing, and they stand up there and argue instead of passing the SAVE Act. And Moms for Liberty now being a chapter chair, now we have a voice and some backing and help to make real change. Real change.
Amen. Well, we're out of time, Raven, but I just cannot thank you enough for coming on here and being brave enough to tell your story. I salute you. I'm definitely a supporter. Raven for Congress, and you've got my support no matter what. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lindsay. And thank you, everybody out there. But we're going to get this right. Don't worry.
Yes, absolutely. We'll be right back to wrap up the Lindsey Beckham Show for today. Stay with us. Beckham Show for today. Stay with us.
1039 WYAB.
Are you looking for a church family to connect with? One that will provide opportunities to grow in your spiritual life, as well as a chance to serve others? First Baptist Flora may be just the place for you. We're located at 102 Jackson Street in Flora. To worship with us in person, we have a traditional worship service that begins Sunday mornings at 8:30. Then our life groups meet at 9:45, and the Refuge Contemporary service begins at 11 a.m. We also have a midweek service every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. So come join us at First Baptist Flora, where we're making much of Jesus.
Need a new car? Then march right over to Mazda of Jackson and spring in the savings. Get 1.9% financing for 63 months on all 2025 CX-5s, 2026 CX-90s, CX-50s, CX-70s, and Mazda 3s with approved credit. And get 1-year maintenance included on your new vehicle purchase. Don't wait another minute to experience Mazda's exhilarating performance, top-notch safety, and reliability. So get to Mazda of Jackson today, where pre-owned vehicles and hassle-free trade-in options are also available. Shop online or visit Mazda of Jackson, I-55 Frontage Road.
As Christians, it's our